Thanks for tuning in to this latest briefing on the record dry start to 2017, and we're also going to have an outlook provided. This presentation will be about 10 minutes long. Speaking of how dry it's been, here is a look at fuel moistures, or the measure of how much moisture is inside the vegetation across our region in south coastal California. You can see on this chart that levels observed just recently are down to about 3%, which are all-time lows. And this is part of why we're seeing such extreme fire weather behavior. What's causing these record low fuels? Precipitation is one of the main causes. We are only seeing light amounts of rain so far this year in Southern California. Most areas are several inches below normal already, as shown in this map. And it's not just Southern California, it's much of the Southwest. When you look at percent of normal, so where we should be, you can see we're down around 0 to 5% across all of Southern California. Basically, we've seen almost no rain. Parts of Northern California that started off on the wet side, that area is starting to shrink, and now they're just barely at normal around Tahoe. The driest stretches of having light rain, well, in San Diego, we are at third place, and that looks like we'll end at that position. That is the amount of rainfall less than 0.05 consecutively occurring throughout any year. It's not just in the San Diego area. You can see up in Big Bear, they are also at their driest start to the water year, where they've seen only 0.01 inches of rain and snow. For San Diego, we're currently at second place, and this includes the rainfall just recently, 0.09, and it looks like we could end up the year in the top 5. Across the mountains of California, we measure the precipitation, especially in the Sierra Nevada. The start of the season was nearly mimicking last year. We had a wet start, but the past month it's flatlined as shown here. The average is in the blue area, and the record-breaking precipitation year of 2016-17 shown in the red line. Snowpack is also very low, despite starting off with some good snowstorms. You can see here that snowpack in the purple line is already below normal, as shown here. The normal line is the black line. Temperatures are a problem as well, because those dry out the vegetation when readings are warm, and especially persistently warm. Also melts the snowpack. You can see in Southern California, temperatures are quite staggering how they're averaging since October 1st, the start of the water year, several degrees above normal, and really much of the West. If we look at specific values, you can see for calendar year 2017, San Diego is 6th place, and all the recent years, 14 and 15, are 1 and 2, and even 16 shows up in here. This is the average temperature, which includes the high and low temperatures. Even when we go up to Riverside, you can see similar readings are found where 2017 is 4th place, only slightly above 14 and 15 years. What else is going on? Well, in the Pacific Ocean, we can see, due to the lack of storms and upwelling, we have large areas of above normal sea surface temperatures across the eastern Pacific. Now, ironically, down in the ENSO region, or the area where we monitor El Niño and La Niña, we are currently observing a La Niña, as shown here, where there's large pockets of below normal sea surface temperatures. This map here shows the readings that are taken weekly in that region, and it shows how we've gone into this La Niña period over the past couple months. Again, this is measured along the equatorial Pacific Ocean. So is it La Niña that's causing this very dry start to this winter? Well, take a look at Santa Ana, California. You can see since 2004-05 season, which was very wet, record-breaking wet El Nino, that it's inconsistent. We have El Niños that are wet and dry, and we've had in the past 10 years 2 La Niñas, specifically 2010 and 11, and last year 16 and 17, where they were wet, and not just wet, but above normal. You can also see in San Diego the same statistics. You can go further back to the 94-95 El Nino, and you can see most recently our 2 wettest years are also La Niñas. What else is going on across the globe? This is courtesy of NOAA and climate.gov. The ice extent across the Arctic Sea is at an all-time low. When we look at records that go back even further at climate.gov, we can see that all-time low in a more broader scope, and really seeing the magnitude of how the Arctic sea ice extent is continuing to shrink and at an all-time low. Well, with La Niña going on, what typically happens across our region? We do tend to see, on average, when you throw in all the wet years and the dry years and the average years, we tend to see drier than normal conditions during La Niña, and wetter in the Pacific Northwest, as shown here. Of course, this is all years thrown together and just averaged out. What's the official outlook? This is just released today, and for the month of January, there is some hope as the storm track is expected to re-energize across the west. But at this time, it appears that most of the precipitation, at least the persistent precipitation bringing above normal conditions, will stay north of us. Does not mean we won't see rain, however. We do expect to see at least some rain, and all it takes is one atmospheric river, and that can make a big difference. Now, for the rest of the winter, January through March, this is the outlook. Not looking good, considering how dry we've started off, in second place in Southern California for the driest start. But again, this does not mean we won't see precipitation, but the odds are we'll end up not having enough storms to be above normal and be on the drier than normal side. Again, all it takes, though, is a couple big atmospheric rivers, and it can make a big difference in the precipitation, the amount of snowpack, and the runoff. How about temperatures? The easier part of the forecast has been the temperatures, as we consistently have seen, as you saw in the earlier slides, above normal temperatures the past several years. And we are expecting the rest of this winter to be above normal, and largely because of the dry soil and the lack of storm systems moving through our area, and the colder Arctic air staying to our north and east. We want to remind you to visit our webpage, weather.gov, and there's several new sections. So if you have bookmarks, you're going to need to update those bookmarks. And the way the page flows is forecast, observations, and even climate information can be found along the tabs. The weather story of the day will be front and center. And then down below, you'll see the watch warning advisories and also the important point-and-click map where you can get information right in your backyard. So make sure you click that map and put the point exactly on your location to get the latest forecasts. The map below will also turn different colors when different advisories and warnings are in effect. Thanks for tuning in to this video weather briefing update on the current state of the climate and also an outlook for the rest of the winter. This has been Alex Tardy, National Weather Service meteorologist.